you were working at the library, you're about to
Yeah.
go to Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah.
But with the Black Resource Center in Compton becoming like the head assistant there, um, how did you, because some people go 100% on one thing. If they're in music, that's all they want to do.
Yeah.
Like you talk about Joe Cooley, like he was just, that's just what he did. How did you figure out and navigate in your own life doing stuff for the library, focusing on education and pursuing music all pretty much full steam at the same time?
Yeah, I figured out a way to chew gum and walk at the same time. And I figured out a way to sort of blend all those things together because it was more for me, the better I got as a musician and a DJ, and the more knowledge that I was able to acquire, it sort of helped me to develop a different kind of perspective and angle on things. And even at Fullerton, when I got into some of the music classes, I learned a lot more about the history of music and the history of Black music and the history of just music in general, the Baroque period, the classical music period, the sort of the Renaissance, era, and just the eras, in terms of like artists like Scott Joplin and Duke Ellington. So it sort of expanded my abilities versus detracting from them. And so I just found a way to kind of blend all of that stuff together and make it work. I didn't even see it as, I didn't compartmentalize it like, okay, this is one thing over here and this is another thing over there. It was just, it just all kind of just blended together and made up, the total person that I became.
Gotcha. And you also were drawing from television. I think it's an awesome story you talk about in your book, your autobiography, about surgery and how you got that, some of the sonics of that from General Hospital. So break that.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
happened?
yeah, yeah. So my mom's, we had one TV in the house, man. Growing up, me and my siblings, and so every day my mom religiously would watch soap operas, and one of her favorite soaps was General Hospital. And Lonzo at the time, he had asked me to write a song about Dre because the whole plan was we were going to first do Yella, right? Do a feature song on him, then do Dre, and then do a feature song on me. So Lonzo asked me to write this song, and I'm trying to come up with ideas about this song. And so because we had the one TV on in the house, yeah, I know some people go, "Oh, this dude was watching the soap operas." No, we only had one TV in the house, and my mother would like, "Yo, turn on the soaps." So we turned on General Hospital. We sitting there watching it, and there's this one scene where somebody was laying in a hospital bed, and you kept hearing like the monitor beep, beep, beep. I said, "Oh, that's the song right there." So I started like, and that cadence, was going. I'm like, "Yeah, that's the song." So I started, penning some stuff out, about him 7 days a week. He's on call, 2 turntable speakers and a mixer, a potent elixir. So started putting that stuff down and just kind of putting those ideas together. And then I got with Dre. I said, "Hey man, here's the lyrics. This is like what I want to say about this. I want to say it like this and do it like that." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool." So he started putting together a beat. Then I said, "Let's put this sound in it." So we started putting the sound and just got, really just putting the song together. And that's how the whole Dr. Dre surgery thing came together. Of course, with our influences being, groups like Kraftwerk and Parliament Funkadelic and George Clinton and all that kind of stuff. We did that. That's how that thing came about. All because my mother loved watching soap operas.
So that being said, what changed or what happened, that the difference between Slice and its success versus Surgery and its success? How were things changing for World Class Wreckin Cru?
Well, because the West Coast started to develop I guess, a signature style that was more up tempo, that was more of a kind of an electro funk at that time. Because on the West Coast, sun, surf, sand, girls with the booties and the shorts on, and people wanted to dance. We had this dance at that time called the freak. you get up close and you'd hump, basically dry hump, on the dance floor. And so if the song was faster, you can get a few more humps in. So we wanted to do a faster tempo. I loved the boom bap. I loved that slowed down tempo, the New York style, because that's what I came up on. I love, acts like Kumo D and Spoonie G, and like I said, Curtis Blow and Grandmaster and Millie Mel and those guys. But for the West Coast, we had to do a faster tempo because that's what the people wanted. That's what the audience demanded. They wanted that because they wanted it to coincide with that dance, the freak. So when we came up with the Surgery song and that whole tempo, it was faster. And that's really what had informed our tempo and that style of rap. Plus, we were starting to get more melodic and get more into groups like Kraftwerk and groups like Annie Lennox and her group. And so we were influenced by that. We were influenced by the techno era of things, songs like Computer Games and TransUnion Express. So as we start to kind of put our style together, and as we were going around and seeing what the audience was responding to, that's the kind of music that we started to make. We had to give the people what they want. And that's where we made the transition from the slower tempo, sort of vocal, lyric heavy slice to the more up tempo kind of electro pop, electro funk style of Surgery, Dr. Dre.
Got it. And then as you guys were progressing and stuff, you did the Juice, the Gang Bang You're Dead,
Yeah.
Lovers. So there was all this lyrical diversity for a group that's really known for the Surgery type of records. So as a writer, since you wrote a lot of the lyrics, most of the lyrics for those songs, what was making you want to explore these different themes and these different areas of life?
That's where that whole piece about knowledge comes in. I mean, I come from a musical family. My grandfather was with Jimi Hendrix. They were best friends. My father, he played the horn, and I just and stepfather Ricky, he used to sing sing all the time. I sang in the choir, of course, in church and then in school. So I come from that musical background, and I never wanted to just be put into one sort of category or um, stuck in one lane. So what I was trying to emphasize, at least with our first album, I think we may have been the only West Coast group at that time in that particular era, out of sort of like that the foundational pieces of maybe like Ice-T and LA Dream Team, New York City Spin Masters, to really do that kind of album. So I wanted to just do something as diverse as possible. That's why we had the up tempo stuff like Juice, the electro funk, Horny Computer, and Surgery. And then we had the slow records. We had ballads, on there. And then we had stories where we talked of socially conscious stuff like Gang Bang You Dead. And it's kind of ironic. Yes, N.W.A did their thing, but what people don't realize and recognize is that whole concept of talking about reality rap, of speaking on what's going on the streets, that started with Wreckin Cru. That started with that song, Gang Bang You're Dead. And, if people do their homework, they'll see, oh, wait a minute, these are elements of reality rap that later on informed N.W.A. And again, not to take anything away from what those dudes were able to accomplish. Those are my guys. I love them to death. And I'm so proud of their phenomenal success. But as an historian, it's important for me to keep and make sure that the historical record is straight. The whole concept of reality rap did not start with N.W.A. It started with world class Wreckin Cru. And I wanted to do something that reflected that. And I came to the guys and said, hey, man, I had a friend that he was murdered. He was basically going to visit his girlfriend, 14 years old. He hit the corner. He got confronted by a group of dudes. Hey, man, what set you from? That kind of stuff. Man, I ain't from no set. I don't gangbang. They chased him down, beat him up. He spent the week in a coma, and then he died. And I said, hey man, we gotta do something. We gotta talk about what's going on in the neighborhood. We gotta say something about everything that's affecting us. We wouldn't even be artists, if we don't say something. And because again, the whole up tempo thing was happening, and RJ's latest arrival was a Shackles on My Feet. That was a popular song. So we're like, okay, let's go with that tempo. Well, let's talk this subject matter. And that's where that whole gang bang you dead concept came from. But again, hey man, I'm just a guy. I'm here to set the record straight. But yeah, that's kind of like where all those pieces were put together.
Yeah. And then also, I know that, or you had talked about in your book, also mentoring Ice Cube and Kid Disaster, who later became KD. But
Yeah, yeah.
what Cube, obviously, from I guess 87 to especially 92 ish, was one of the best, if not the best, writers in rap, I would say.
Yeah,
So,
that's baby bro, man. Cube. I already listen. No matter what, I already knew Cube was gonna be something because when we first met them, see, Jinx is Dre's cousin. So Jinx was one of our roadies because again, Wreckin Cru, we were a crew. It wasn't just four guys. It was 15, 20 other people supporting everything that we were doing, whether it was moving equipment, providing security, and or helping to deliver the mobile piece of it because we were also mobile DJs, but we also rented out equipment to people and we did other parties. I mean, we did parties at Muhammad Ali's house. We did one of his kids' sweet 16 birthday party. So we were still mobile DJs and we were doing Dudo's Music Center and we were doing Skateland. So we would have to move our equipment to different places. And that was like moving, a small apartment full of furniture every time we would go out. So we needed hands on deck. And Jinx was one of our roadies. And he would always bug us about this, group he had, this little crew, and they were like still in like junior high school at the time, man, young cats. And so I think it might have been somebody's birthday party. I don't know what it was, but me and Dre, we didn't have much to do that day. We had a little time to kill. So we like, all right, man, let's just go on over there and check out this birthday party. So we scooped up over to the neighborhood on the street on the block, and Jinx and Cube lived sort of like next door to each other or a couple of houses down from each other. So we went into the backyard. It was a setup because they had the turntables and the microphones and all that ready. And as soon as we walked up in there, man, Cube jumped on the mic, KD jumped on the mic, Jinx jumped on the turntables, and boom, they started performing. And I don't know what they thought they were gonna do, but they started performing and they were auditioning for us. And what I noticed, the first thing I noticed, man, was that dude Cube had fire. He was just so into what he was doing. He believed it down like to the core. And usually when I see people who rap like that, he sounded a lot like me, I'll be honest. But at the same time, his delivery and everything he was doing was just so dope. I said, man, this dude rapping out of pain. And that's the first thing I came up with. I said, this dude is rapping out of pain and experience because there's no way you can sort of be that young and be that enthusiastic and be that deeply motivated about what you're doing without coming through some type of tragic, situation, or at least experiencing that. And yeah, after that, man, I just told you, I said, look, man, we got to do something with these cats, man. Just, these dudes, we got to do something. Let's work with them, man. Let's just pull them into the studio. Let's show them the ropes. Let's make something happen with them, dude. And so I eventually, at first Dre was like, nah, man, fuck that. We ain't got time for that. So finally, I convinced him, after bugging him enough. I mean, I could have pull him in and done something with him myself, but I was like, nah, we roll as a group, so we make group decisions. So finally, I convinced him, and we pulled him in, man. And Cube, just everything, man. He had questions. He was observant, soaked everything up like a sponge. They started opening up for us, so I started doing a lot of the sort of mentoring of them and helping them work on the show, the stage presence, balancing the stage, just stuff, basic stuff to make them look good, and because they were representing the whole crew as well, they opened for us, so they had to look good to make sure that by the time we came on, we look good. But yeah, the dude was very talented. KD, very talented. And I just started helping them hone their skills, man, and get themselves ready in studio, get themselves ready as professionals and all of that kind of stuff. Because again, Wreckin Cru was our training academy. There was no LA recording school or New York film school at that time that was, pulling us in to show us how to be engineers and how to be informed artists. We had to figure all that stuff out on our own. Yeah, those guys were that's baby bro, KD, Cube, Jinx, all those dudes.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangsta Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangsta Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangsta Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Your MTV Best with N.W.A.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the street. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.